We caught up with Republican presidential candidate Chris Christie yesterday in Columbia, South Carolina. We began our conversation with President Obama's use of executive action to expand background checks. Why isn't this just leadership, though? He's using every possible method he can to get what he wants. You've talked a lot about
dictatorship's not leadership, John. And he's acting like a dictator and a petulant child. Let's remember something. What I mean by that statement is, in 2008, he came in with it all. Huge majority in the House, filibuster-proof majority in the Senate, and the Republicans only had 21 governors around the country. Since that time, we're up to 31 Republican governors, big majority in the House, majority in the Senate. His policies have been rejected by the American people, but he doesn't want to hear that.
Let me ask you a gun control question. Donald Trump has suggested getting rid of gun-free zones in schools and on military bases. Would you agree with that?
Well, listen, I think for the military, and I've said this before after the attacks that we had earlier in Tennessee, it seems ridiculous to me that military folks can't carry a weapon with them. They're trained to do it. They're the best trained people. And so I would certainly be in favor of our military folks being able to carry weapons in those circumstances. And on the gun-free school zones, I think that's something that each state should be able to look at on its own.
Let me talk about your record on assault weapons. When we last talked, you said that originally you wanted to keep an assault weapons ban, said those who wanted to get rid of it were crazy. You said since then you'd learned as a prosecutor, you'd evolved on that issue. In 2009, though, you were still a supporter of the assault weapons ban. That was after you'd been a prosecutor.
No, what I said at the time was that I was not interested in debating or changing, because I knew I couldn't, New Jersey's gun laws with the Democratic legislature. If I had my choice, John, we would be a state where you could apply much more easily and receive much more easily a carry permit in our state. We're a may-issue state, not a shall-issue state. We should be a shall-issue state so people can defend themselves.
When you were in that race with John Corzine in 2009, he said Christie stands with the NRA, and your campaign put out a fact check and called that a lie. And then your campaign said this: Chris Christie supports the assault weapons ban and all current gun laws. He opposes attempts to permit conceal and carry laws in New Jersey. Hardly the NRA position. So that seems different than where you are now.
Yeah, it is. And again, you learn about these things over time. And I've learned about this over time. In New Jersey, I've grown up in a culture in our state of very, very vigorous anti-gun laws. As I've traveled the country as RGA chairman, as I've traveled the country as a governor, I've learned a great deal about this, and my actions as governor of New Jersey have been exactly where I think they need to be. When these things involve public safety, I'm for public safety, but if they're laws that are just going to make legislators and governors feel better, they shouldn't be put into place and infringe Second Amendment rights.
But so the evolution is more recent than just when you were a prosecutor?
It's an evolution that's gone on over time. Absolutely, John.
Would you say you stand with the NRA?
Listen, I stand with anybody who believes in protecting the Second Amendment and protecting public safety, and whether it's the NRA or other organizations like the New Jersey Pistol Club or others, I stand with organizations who want to make sense between public safety and our Second Amendment rights, and I think they do.
So just going back to that ad, though, you stand with the NRA?
Well, I mean, listen, the fact is that if the NRA, I'm not on every issue, but on the issues, you can take them down issue by issue, and I'll be able to answer them for you. But I'm not going to say I stand with anybody, any particular interest group, and give them a blank check. That's not what leadership is.
You are a lawyer. You were a federal prosecutor. Is Ted Cruz legally eligible to be president in your view?
It appears to me he is.
You gave a speech this week saying that you understand voters are angry, but that it's time for them to pick a president, that they shouldn't just pick somebody out of anger.
No, that's not what I said. What I said was, listen, anger alone is not a solution to our nation's problems. That we have to channel that anger into a place where we pick someone who can actually fix the problems that are making us angry. And so part of the bigger theme of that speech, John, was calling our Republican Party to our similarities and to stop emphasizing our differences, that we need to bring ourselves together in order to beat Hillary Clinton, because every time we divide ourselves, we make it easier for Hillary Clinton to nominee next November.
You said showtime is over, but you put on a pretty good show.
Yeah, but game time is on now. And now's when you have to perform, right? Showtime is a time when everybody gets to judge you and look, and you're prancing around the stage. Now it's game time.
The competition has gotten a little tougher between you and some of your rivals. You said Marco Rubio is trying to slime his way to the White House. When a super PAC running an ad said that you supported Common Core, you once supported an assault weapons ban, and that you donated to Planned Parenthood. Which one of those is wrong?
Well, I never donated to Planned Parenthood, so that's wrong. Secondly, for him to be trying to characterize my conservative record in that way is contrary to what Marco himself said. Marco himself has said that I was a conservative reformer in New Jersey. So here's the thing. I'm not going to spend my time talking about Marco Rubio, okay? If Marco wants to think that, this is the guy who stood up and really lectured Jeb Bush on the debate stage. So someone's told you that by criticizing me, it helps you. Well, apparently that same someone is now talking to Marco. I'm not going to fall for that. You saw my response to Marco. It was to put out an ad where I talk about the dangers of Hillary Clinton being president. Fact is, I'm going to keep focused on defeating Hillary Clinton. Marco wants to continue to say stuff about me. I'm happy to stand by my record of having made decisions.
So just on the Planned Parenthood, never donated, never supported?
No.
All right, Governor Christie, thanks very much.
Thanks, John.
A clarification.